If I could talk to my younger self, here's what I say. This will be a conversation that you might want to do for yourself. And I'll be giving you 7 teaching lessons to offer to your younger self. Let me repeat that: 7 teaching lessons that you might want to offer to your younger self, if you could go back in time and do this. So if you're in your midlife, whether you're 45, 55, 65, or even over 70, you've lived a fair amount of life. And I'm sure you've had battle scars along the way. In fact, 75% of us who are over 45 years old, who are single, looking for love, have experienced divorce. Unraveling the tapestry of your life with another person can actually leave you, as I said earlier, with battle scars, pains, uncertainty in your life, certainly financial uncertainty for many people. And many of us also have children that can directly affect our well-being as adults. Maybe you've gone through professional changes. Maybe parents have passed away. Maybe you have health issues. We've lived with ups and downs. Please forgive me because I'm reading from notes. Okay, we've lived with ups and downs. And imagine you had a time machine where you could go back in time to speak to your younger self. What would you say? And the reason why I'm going to give you 7 teaching lessons that you might share with your younger self is because this is what I'm inviting you to embody as your realized self right now, this actualized self right now. So if I was going to go back in time, this is what I might say. And please forgive me again, I'm going to be reading. Hey, I know you're in hell right now. Everything you thought was secure. Actually, this is something, I'm sorry. This is what my younger self would tell my adult self. I apologize. This is what my younger self would tell my adult self. Hey, I know you're in pain right now, feeling uncertainty. Everything that you thought was secure, your marriage, your career, your identity, it's all slipping through your fingers. It feels like life is pushing you, but what it's really doing is initiating you. This pain isn't meaningless. It's cracked your heart open, not to destroy you, but to make space for the truth, for depth, and for love. Let me repeat that. It's cracked your heart open, not to destroy you, but to make space for truth, depth, and love. You're going to lose more along the way. You'll face grief so shattering, it'll bring you to your knees, but don't numb it. Don't rush to fix it. Let it change you. Let it soften you. Let it teach you how to hold space for yourself and later for others. You'll find yourself becoming someone you didn't plan to be, a guide, a teacher, a safe space for others to fall apart and rise again. That's your soul's work, not the corporate success, not the approval, not even the relationship. The work is becoming love itself. And if you're doing it, you will feel lost again. You'll question your worth, but you'll also build a tribe, deepen your spirit, and love harder than you ever imagined. You'll become more you, and damn, that's a gift this pain can't steal from you. By the way, is that me talking to my younger self, or is that my younger self talking to my adult from that younger self? As I'm reflecting upon that, it's kind of interesting as I share that with everybody. So, why am I doing this conversation? It's because I think many people are experiencing uncertainty, doubt, fear, and pain. Let me repeat that. Many people are experiencing uncertainty, doubt, fear, and pain. And because of that, I'm offering you to connect the dots backwards for a moment and to look at your life in various different places, in various different stages, and kind of observe it from an objective point of view right now. I think oftentimes when we see the space that we're in right now, maybe you're single looking for love, maybe you're in uncertain times in your professional life, maybe you're in a relationship that you're questioning, maybe you're going through health issues. Sadly, maybe you have children that are in pain. You know, we parents oftentimes are only as happy as our least happy child. And depending on where you're at, I want you to look back at your life, at different times of your life. how you've evolved in, say, the last 20 years, or the last 40 years. For many of us that are 60 years old, I think of our first 20 years is our childhood years. The next 20 years from 20 to 40 is the young adult years. From 40 to 60 is mid-adult years. And as we look back at our life, we might actually observe that everything has been preparing us for where we are at today. Everything in our life is preparing us for where we're at today. In fact, I wrote a blog about this that I want to share with everybody. So bear with me one second as I read this out loud, okay? And by the way, I'm going to share with you a meme that goes with it. And this was something I posted in my Facebook community page. So if you go to my YouTube community page in the blog section, but I want to read this to everybody. 20 years ago, my life was falling apart. I was going through a painful divorce. I'd lost my high-end corporate job, and the market crash of 2008 wiped out my financial security. The pain was relentless. At times, I didn't even think I'd make it. And by the way, back then, I used to go to bed wishing I didn't wake up. But I look back now, and I see something else. That pain cracked me open. It forced me to seek help. It woke me up. From the ashes of that version of me came the foundation of my life I live today. A life rooted in emotional honesty, coaching others, and finding meaning in the mess. Finding the meaning in the mess. The losses didn't stop there. Later, I experienced the unimaginable, losing my son. And also the loss of a treasured relationship that once felt like home. And there were many dark nights filled with unworthiness and doubt. But there was also beauty, real friendships, a spiritual community, and most importantly, a growing connection to my own heart. I've become someone I never imagined, a person who can hold pain and still choose love. If you're going through hell, please know this: your pain isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of your transformation. You're not broken, you are becoming. Appreciate your journey, especially the hardest parts. They're not detours, they are your path. Because the person you're becoming, they're worth everything you've survived to get here. And by the way, the meme that's posted there, I want to share with everyone. Someone asked me, why do you insist on taking the hard road? And I replied, why do you assume I take two roads? I share this with everybody because I suspect many people are going through a gigantic transformation in their life right now. They're experiencing uncertainty. They're experiencing pain. They're experiencing doubt. And they're questioning everything. I think we are in a state of humanity where we are going through a gigantic transformation on so many different levels. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, particularly with AI. A friend of mine was sharing with me the other day, he thinks the world is going to be unrecognizable and AI is going to wipe out so much of those middle management, mid-level type jobs. And I was sharing with another friend today how I think that's going to transform our society to coming back to tribal kind of living, to come back to family-based living. Instead of children leaving the nest and individuating, I think it's time that we're going to start to conserve resources as a collective and take advantage of the fact that we are stronger together than we are by ourselves. And yet those of us in midlife, particularly those of us who are single, those of us that live by ourselves, or maybe you're in a relationship that feels unfulfilled, it can wreak havoc on our nervous system. It can wreak havoc on our emotional well-being. I'm going to repeat that. For those of us, and by the way, there's roughly 50, 60, 70, 100 million singles in our demographic here in the United States and all across the world. And I think we are the ones that are called to rise above it all. See, we bought into the fantasy that love, being in a romantic relationship, will make us happier. And look at how miserable so many people are in romantic relationships because they haven't cultivated their own self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence, self-reliance, something I call self-love. And by the way, this is my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work. There's a link below to get a copy of my book under Jonathan Recommend Books. I think those of us who are single right now are called to learn to love ourselves so much that we don't judge ourselves for where we're at in our life, that we can navigate challenges so much better in some cases because those dependent upon based relationships might be fragile. And we are being called, those of us are being called to step up. And so as I prepared for this video, what would I tell my younger self? 7 teaching lessons I would say to my younger self. Now, here's the thing about talking to my younger self. I wouldn't have listened. I would not have listened. If I went back in time and actually met the older me today speaking to my younger self, I wouldn't have listened. Because I wouldn't have gotten here if it wasn't for all these lessons. But I'm inviting you to embrace these lessons now as the adult self, to look at it from the vantage point of where you're at today. So the 7 teaching lessons. Number 1, your breakdown is an initiation, not failure. Folks, I have fallen down so many times in my life, and my life has felt like it's falling apart. But in those moments of wishing I didn't I went to bed wishing I didn't wake up, was also a catalyst for me. And in the deepest pain, I was going through initiation because I was becoming the more authentic version of myself. And the authentic version of yourself. Pain is often a portal to purpose. Jahelia says, what kind of world would it be if we were using our gifts and talents as our career and our occupation? Imagine if everyone was able to share from the depths of their truth. And guess what? You can. You have cultivated family and friends that you can share from your wisdom. We all, particularly those of us in midlife, we elders, have wisdom to impart upon others or younger people. And that's partially why I'm doing this today. Your breakdown is an initiation, not a failure. The first lesson. Number 2, loss doesn't mean you're losing yourself. Loss doesn't mean you're losing yourself. The loss of a relationship, career, or a loved one is devastating, but it didn't mean you are lost, or it didn't mean I'm lost. I am still here, and that's what matters. You are still here, and that's what matters. You have forged through pain to get to where you're at today. And I recognize many of you are still in deep pain, and some of you are elevating beyond the pain, the uncertainty, the doubt, the fear. And you are being called to move past it, because loss doesn't mean you are losing yourself. Number 3, there's no timeline for healing. We have this fantasy, one fantasy is you can't love another till you love yourself. Self-love is an ever-going process. It's just an invitation to begin loving yourself, to come from a place of self-awareness, to be objective about yourself, to speak from the heart, to speak sincere and from the heart. And there's no timeline for healing. Healing isn't linear. You might feel fine one day, and the next day you might feel broken, and you might look like a pachinko ball bouncing around in a pachinko machine. That's how I feel in my life. It's all over the map. Many of you have witnessed me being all over the map because we have this expectation that happiness is derived through a system of the 7 habits of highly effective people, and that we must be productive, and God forbid you procrastinate. And God forbid you don't live up to your potential. Those are all self-contained prisons. The idea of not living up to your potential, not being productive, and procrastination as if it's some sort of prison that you might be living in. What if all of that space is part of your healing, part of your growth, part of you to step into another version of yourself? By the way, I know I'm screaming. I'm just excited about this conversation. By the way, is any of this resonating with you? Is it sinking in? I'd be curious to hear what you have to say. Number 4, grief is a long life companion, not a problem to solve. Some pain never fully leaves us, but over time it carves out space for empathy, for presence and love. Don't rush to fix it. Honor it. I think this is one of the most important lessons I learned after losing my son. It allowed me to connect more deeply with my heart. Folks, I was a selfish bastard. I was a righteous bastard. See, now that's a judgment, especially if I'm calling myself a bastard. Through pain, it's allowed me to open my heart through loss, not just the loss of my son, that loss of my career, the loss of my money, the loss of my identity, and certainly the loss of a treasured relationship. All of these things have given me the greatest gift in my life is a connection to my heart. And I have to recognize that it's going to keep happening. I'm going to lose more and more loved ones. For those of us that are in our 50s and 60s and beyond, we are going to lose more people. It's not a problem we need to solve. It's learning to become companions with grief, and that we don't need to fix ourselves. We just honor the pain. And number 5 that relates to this is don't bypass the pain. It has a message for you. Let me repeat that. Don't bypass the pain. It has a message for you. It's tempting to slap a spiritual band-aid on heartbreak. But real transformation begins when you stop numbing and start listening to the pain. The pain has a message for you. You know, the term heartbreak, think about it, the heartbreak. Heartbreak has a message for you. What's the message? Man, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. The sad part for many people is they've allowed the pain to make them bitter, to make them jaded, to block their heart from love. Many of you are blocking your hearts to love, and you're like me. You so deeply want love in your life, and I'm inviting you all to recognize that the deepest love you're going to get is the love you have within yourself. The best relationship you're ever going to have is the relationship you have with yourself. You know, we here in the United States are suckling on the nipple of, I need you to love me so I can feel good about myself. I need you to love me so I can feel good about myself. I need you to validate me and care for me and nurture me so I can feel good about myself. And that in and of itself is a pain. So don't bypass the pain. It has a message for you. Number 6, you are becoming the person you needed to become. You are becoming the person you needed to become. Every time you rise after falling, you are shaping into the very guide, friend, partner that you once longed to be. Your wounds have become your wisdom. If you're in your 50s, 60s, or even 70s, you have so much wisdom in you. You are evolving and becoming, and you can share this wisdom with others. You know, we stopped listening to our elders, our generation, the baby boom, Gen X generation, and it's time. We are the elders now. And I believe the younger generation, the millennials, the Gen Zs, they are thirsty for deep knowledge because so many of them are in deep pain right now. And we have become the elders. And it is time that we impart our wisdom to younger people, because it's preparing them for the evolution of what may be happening next in humanity. I think we will in the next couple generations come back to tribal living, to family-based living for pure survival reasons, because the cost of living here in the United States is ridiculously expensive. And it's time we come together, and it's our job as elders to pass on this wisdom to the younger generation. And number 7, even in the darkness, you are being led. Even in the darkness, you are being led. You might feel lost right now. But life is still unfolding for you. Trust that even your detours have meaning. The universe says they're not done with you yet. If you are listening to this right now, there is still so much more life ahead of you. And it's not about finding the mate. It's not about getting the guy. Even though my channel is called Understand Men Now, my URL is called Understand Men Right Now. Whether you're a man or woman, I'm here to encourage personal power, personal development, self-help, spiritual work, to rise above all of the pain that you might be experiencing, because the pain is preparing you for something new. And even in the darkness, you are being led. We all have a divinity. We have a higher self. There is God, universe, spirit that actually has our back. And when we can lean into trust, when we can lean into faith within ourselves and within our higher self, we are being led. It's not about not being fed through a relationship. It is feeding the relationship within yourself. And if I could talk to my younger self, I might say all of the things I just said. I know my younger self wouldn't listen, because it had to go. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for all those experiences. And I suspect you feel the very same. Is this sinking? By the way, is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know. I'd like to hear your thoughts on what I just shared. If any of this connected with your heart, please post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, there's links below. Schedule a discovery call with me. Schedule a call with me. Join my group. Follow me on Instagram. Get the books I recommend. Get my dating vows. It's all in the show notes listed below. All right, those who know my live format know it's time for Q&A. If you have a question, there's a little chat box in the corner. Write the word question and then post the question thereafter. Or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. All the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Asley. This is one of my favorite pictures of him. He's my son who passed away over 7 years ago. In his honor, we donate to causes like the Hoffman Process Insight Institute and scholarships to coaching as well. Oh, and by the way, this is my other son, Colin. It's his birthday today. He's just shy of 30 years old. Let's wish him a happy birthday, Colin. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. We're in love with you. We're in love with you. May happiness be yours through all the coming years, and all the best to you, and all the best to you. And may you smile every day, and may your cares go away, and may you never, ever, ever feel blue. Oh, Colin, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Wonderful you. Happy birthday, Colin. Hey, if you want to join the love seat, join the love seat to speak to me live. Here's the link. I'm just going to post that right now. Anyone who wants to join me live can click the link listed in the chat box, okay? So thank you so much for the birthday wishes for Colin. I really appreciate that. Oh, Debbie, thank you for the $30 super sticker. We appreciate the love. That is so sweet of you. Thank you so much. Wow. God, I love the love everyone shares today. By the way, our goal today is $100 for the Connor Asley Scholarship Fund. Amanda wants to point out, amazing revelations have risen from the ashes with Jonathan. Oh, thank you so much. By the way, many of you are wishing happy birthday. Ginger wants to point out the book, Adult Relationships. Here's a great book you may want to read, How to Be an Adult in Relationships, The 5 Keys to Meaningful Loving by David Rico. By the way, the book is listed below. I highly recommend checking that out. All right, if you have a question, write the word question, then post the question thereafter. Or you can, okay. Janet wants to point out wisdom Takes us years to understand. In your 50s and 60s, give us a look back. Hopefully we've learned. I hope so. You know, it's funny, when I was reading my script for today, see, I realized I kind of was dysfunctional. Am I talking to my younger self? Is my younger self talking to my older self? I was a little bit all over the map because, you know, to some degree, as I said earlier, I don't think I'd listen to my younger self if I was speaking today, but I hope that we can impart wisdom to younger people. Most importantly is to trust within themselves, to trust within themselves. Amanda just gave us a $15 super sticker. Thank you for the love. I want to come back and reflect upon this, trusting. You know, how many of you are over 55? Okay, we'll put 55 as the break-even point for this conversation. I am sure that since you were 20 years old, you've fallen down and gotten up many a times. Many a times. You know, I think many of you watching my channel know that, particularly after the ending of my most significant relationship a year and a half ago, that really broke my heart open in so many different ways. And I think it affected how I coach because, you know, I'll be candid with you. I haven't really dated. It's because I realized that the old way of doing things isn't working. For the last 30 years since online dating, I think it's bastardized the meeting. It's been a blessing and a curse for many people. But I think it's created a real havoc, emotionally speaking. So I'm leaning into that, recognizing that I don't want to play the telemarketing game. And this is what's causing me to go through some uncertainty in my life, because I don't know if I want to teach what I used to teach in the same way. I want to teach things differently. That's why this conversation, and while we don't have as many viewers as we normally have, because it's not understanding what men do and how men use you and stuff like that. But I think this is the more important conversation for everyone to be listening to. Do you agree? If you agree, say, yes, this is an important conversation. Okay. Sue just points out, question, how do we reach the younger generation? They will want to go through all the trials and failures. Yes, this does resonate with me. How do we reach the younger generation? A great conversation. Well, you start with the people right in your life right now. Start being curious. Ask the younger generation, how do you feel right now? And just recognize that we have an arrogance, us younger people. Or when we were younger, we have an arrogance that we're indestructible. But maybe ask them how they're feeling and share your story. That's how you're going to do it, is to share your story. This is why I'm doing this habitually through my YouTube channel these days, is sharing my story and saying, does this resonate with you? Do you know how many people come back to me and say, yes, this resonates with me. This resonates with me. This resonates with me. That's how we do it, Laura. Please forgive me, I'm butchering your name. I don't know how to pronounce it properly. We start by sharing our story. But I invite you to cultivate your story from the premise of sharing the pain, but also sharing how you trust. That's the message. The message is trust. Trust within ourselves. Trust that everything is going to be okay. That doesn't mean you just sit back and wait for things to happen, but it's leaning into your sovereignty. Debbie says, I love it. Yes, this is an important conversation. V.I. Simmons says, yes, this is an important conversation. Patricia says, yes, this is important. Amanda says, yes, this is definitely. Jerry points something out. I believe men enjoy making money. I think men use money as the barometer for their identity and success. And that's a very, you know, when they say money is the root of all evil, it's when we identify with our self-worth in a financial capacity. I believe that is the case. Now, men do tend to seek personal development in the area of making money because it's no longer about the physical prowess of being a provider, protector from the physical sense. It's from a financial sense, and it's time to break down that old traditional narrative and say, come back to how people lived back hundreds of thousands of years ago as a team. The man didn't pay all the bills back then. Yes, men hunted for food, but women were just as much warriors tens of thousands of years ago as men were. Women had to fight and protect just like men. We actually worked as teammates. It's the fantasy. It's the illusion that was created years ago to keep women down. And you women are powerful creatures. We need you just as much as you need us. It's time that we work as teammates with one another instead of the old traditional narratives, or at least that's my opinion anyway. Jahala says, I tell my younger self to be patient, take your time, follow your instincts, and don't feel pressure to follow the crowd. Yes, yes, yes. Follow your instincts and don't feel pressure to follow the crowd. Oh my God, my entire life, the reason why I was a people pleaser is because I thought if the crowd loved me, then I would feel love. Oh God. This is why, folks, you know, I get a lot of criticism on my YouTube channel. I get trolls. I get people that message me some mean things because they don't like what I have to say. I've always believed I've been a contrarian to some degree, and I'm grateful that this messaging is actually providing value for many of you. I like what Debbie has to say here. I really don't care if a man is rich or have a lot of money. If I like you, that's what matters. You know, I suspect you're not going to want to date someone who lives on the streets, someone who can support themselves, okay? Because a person who lives on the streets is living a different life. However, with that said, I think two people can live better than one. And I think it's time to look at partnership from merging resources together from a financial perspective. But it requires not only liking them, but building trust with one another, Debbie. It requires building deep trust with one another. And that is what we are so weak at. We are so weak at building relationships from the ground up, from a heart-centered place, because we've hyper-focused on attraction, entertainment, and romance and physical connection as the gateway to love. And I think it's probably pretty evident today because people aren't staying married like my parents did for 66 years. And as Debbie points out, absolutely working as a team and trusting. Exactly. Amanda wants to point something out. Should we give someone a second chance when we've experienced a very new partner had cheated on you and told you about it? Well, we have to give credit. If someone was unfaithful to an agreement that you made, I would want to know what was the why behind it. Was it purely for pleasure, or was there something missing in the relationship that needed to get expressed and they didn't know how to express it to you? So they went to go seek connection with someone else. I'd want to know the deeper why. And maybe there's a why in there that can open the two of you up. In fact, my ex-girlfriend, Dr. Sherry Myers, wrote a book called Chatting or Cheating. And I want to read the subtitle, How to Detect Infidelity, Rebuild Love, and Affair-Proof Your Relationship. By the way, there's a picture of my ex right there, Dr. Sherry Myers. Sweetheart. We are dear friends. She's in a great relationship with David right now. They've been together for 8 years. I do believe it's possible, but you have to be willing to work on the relationship, to affair-proof it, and again, I'm not suggesting that you should do this, but I'm saying it's worth exploring if there's some real potential there, okay? And if there's real remorse and a remedy and a real understanding of why it happened, and then building a relationship that doesn't need to go outside for physical connection. Now, here's the thing, though. Cheating is a reflection of monogamy, but some people didn't sign up for celibacy. There are a lot of couples that are not having physical intimacy. Monogamy is an agreement not to sleep with others, but people didn't sign up for celibacy. And if they're seeking sexual connection elsewhere because sex is not being provided in the relationship, then you have to ask yourself, how are you contributing to this? Because if you've gone celibate, I don't think then we should judge someone's choice to go seek physical connection elsewhere. That's just my opinion on that. You might have a different opinion on that as well. Debbie just says, Jonathan is the voice of knowledge. You know, I'm just a voice of experience that I'm sharing. I'm just sharing my experiences, right or wrong. My life has been messy, folks. My life has been messy. But I think it's in the mess that there's the juice, so to speak. Amanda says, he came looking for me because of his deep loneliness. The woman was very cold to him over 2 years. He came to me because of the woman was cold to him. So he probably had an unresolved issue with her, and he felt like maybe being physically intimate, I'm just guessing here, might have fulfilled some sort of past need that was unmet. Doesn't make it right. I'm just suspecting what might have been the why. But if he came to you for loneliness, then that's not really a healthy foundation for a relationship either. It's not a healthy foundation for a relationship either. By the way, does anyone want to join me on the love seat to talk about this conversation? I would appreciate. There's a link right there. Join me live. It'd be fun to have a conversation with you. A man must have a solid financial situation for a relationship success. You know what? This is a great conversation to have. Okay. A man must have solid financial situation for relationship success. Now, I guess the question means, what is solid? Does solid mean I have enough money in the bank to save for retirement? Does solid mean just paying our existing bills? What does solid mean? I will say this. When a person's life doesn't feel solid, when the ground underneath them doesn't feel solid, oftentimes that creates chaos in their emotional life. Let me repeat that. When the ground underneath them doesn't feel solid, it can create chaos in their emotional life. And when there's chaos in the emotional life, it makes it very challenging to be in relationship with another. So I do agree with that, okay? Now, here's the tricky question. What if it's mostly solid? And what if he meets a woman who's mostly solid in her financial life? I'm not saying totally solid. I'm saying mostly solid. Can those two people come together and merge resources, merge assets, merge themselves? I think that's one possibility. But I think it goes beyond financial security, because when you think of provider protector, I think of the provider of the heart and the protector of emotions, the provider of heart and the protector of emotions, or the provider of emotions and the protector of the heart. You can transfer it either way. It doesn't have to be physical protection in the world. That doesn't have to be providing from a financial perspective. I think the person who has a sincere heart, it's kind of like what Debbie talked about previously. It's not about how much money they have. It's about who they are in their heart. And I think we men are being called to step up in this area. I think the reason why the divorce rate is so high is because women don't want to put up with men who are not providers of emotions and protectors of heart, because they're hyper focused on the financial success. Because there is more to a relationship than the base needs. And not to suggest our base needs of survival isn't important through money. I mean, the reality is today, money is the form of survival. It's the way we garner resources to sustain us. And yet there's this fantasy that men must be men must climb to the highest room, to the tallest tower, and pay for women and all this stuff, because it's a man's role to do that. Let me be clear with everyone. Here in the United States, 80% of the population lives kind of paycheck to paycheck and don't have 1 year's savings in the bank. So this narrative that men are supposed to pay for everything, I think you have to get really clear today. Two is better than one when you're operating in a teamwork fashion. But when I said earlier that women are initiating divorce because there's more to a romantic relationship than the woman being the nurturer to make sure the man goes to the doctor and a man paying the bills, I think there's more. I think we are evolving to connect at a deeper emotional level. And men, I'm speaking to men right now. It's time to step up in this capacity. By the way, I'm losing my breath. I'm talking with so much passion, but it's time for men to step up in this area to be provider of emotions and protector of the heart, provider of heart and protector of emotions. And yes, you need to be able to pay your bills. You need to be able to support yourselves. But you know what? There are so many women out there that are doing so financially wonderful that they have the capacity where they can pair up together. I think it's time to throw out the old traditional narrative and look at relationships from a different vantage point. Just like Jahila says right here, women today can provide too. In that regard, our needs from men have changed exactly. Now, here's the thing, ladies. Men haven't done a good job cultivating their emotional well-being. Men haven't done a good job because we weren't trained to do that. We were taught to stuff our emotions. We were taught to be a man meant to be stoic, meant to be tough on the outside. And the reason why men, I think one of the reasons why men die younger is because we haven't cultivated our emotional side to navigate our emotional well-being. Where does disease come from? From unease. Disease comes from unease on an emotional level. And so from the financial point of view of this conversation, just like Debbie says here, yes, working as a team makes the relationship more solid. And Linda comes on to say, some coaches are advocating that a man should pay for everything. I know women coaches are advocating this. Coaches are advocating this. By the way, if we went back to an absolute patriarchal society where women were property and we went back to that type of format, we could sustain that. But quite frankly, there are plenty of women who out-earn men. I'm talking a significant percentage of women that out-earn men. Amanda goes on to say, yes, it's true. Men and women pitching in, sharing the financial load is great. That's how we're going to survive, I think, as a species. And coming back to these coaches that sell this narrative, guess what? What's going to happen if for whatever reason he loses his high-end corporate job like I did? What's going to happen if he can't find himself? What if he finds himself in a circumstance today where AI just replaced his income? What are you going to do about that? What are you going to do about men that are going through gigantic changes? Do we abandon those men? Should men be expected to pay for everything? And by the way, isn't expectation the money of, or the expectation is the expectation is the root of disaster, and desperation is her twin sister. You know, I think it's time that we look at this. Oh, and Jerry says, I provide for myself. I'd like to have a teammate and a playmate. That's exactly for those of us in midlife. Do you know what we're seeking? We're seeking a teammate, a playmate in our lives, because most of us don't have to raise children. Most of us don't have to raise children. And if we're not, for those of us in midlife, and if we're not raising children, then what's the purpose of a relationship? To be teammates, to be playmates with one another. This is why it's so crucially important to find a shared passion. Sue goes on to say, and by the way, Linda wants to say, very good points, Jonathan. Thank you. I think we need to address this. I think this is an important conversation. And Sue illustrates this perfectly. I've always paid my way in dating and my last marriage. I'm capable of doing this. So why not? By the way, when you become dependent upon, here's the tricky part, coming back, to the comment here that said, Some coaches are advocating men should pay for everything. Well, here's the dilemma with that. First off, it sets up a false premise. Okay. When men are paying for the early stage of dating, guess what they also get to pay for? They get to pay for treating you like shit. They get to pay for using you. They get to pay for dumping you whenever they want because they paid for it. I'm sorry. That is one of the, and by the way, oftentimes people use money as control. I think it's very dangerous when you become dependent upon someone from a financial purpose because they can treat you like shit and you've got nowhere to go. Ruth says, yes, this is very important. Jahila says something. The definition of what a man is today is under review. I know we have what's a real man, all of this stuff. You know, what's a gentleman, what's a man, what's a woman? By the way, all of this is now under question. What is this? You know? And Debbie points out, yes, money can be used for a form of power and control. As women, I wouldn't want to be dependent upon that, and especially in the early stage of dating. I know it feels good when a man, you know, provides and entertains you and romances you, but guess what he gets to buy in return? He gets to buy ghosting you because he paid for it. I know that morally doesn't feel right, but guess that's what happens when you're not mutually investing in one another. And your time is, by the way, some women say, well, I'm giving him my time as my compensation. By the way, be careful of that narrative. Be careful of that narrative. V.I. Simmons says this is so true. Exactly. Be careful of these narratives. And so, oh, by the way, Nicole points this out. He also expects you to put out. Yes. Yes. If he's paid for it, he wants something in return. But Jonathan, I'm just told to sit my feminine energy and let men lead, and they're supposed to pay for everything because that's the way it works. Folks, if our dating marketplace was so pure in that narrative, then why is it so dysfunctional? Lindy points out, a woman should always have a job in case this happens and she can leave. You know, it's interesting. I was watching an interview with Jane Fonda talking about this, and I was watching even an interview with Cher. You know, when you are in your sovereignty, when you're in your power, you don't have to put up with shit just because a man is paying for it. Be careful of the narratives that are being sold, what men are supposed to do, because guess what? There are a lot of shitty men out there. There are a lot of men who are not emotionally healthy. And I think it's imperative. This is why I'm such an advocate, folks. When I talk about self-love, I'm talking about empowerment. I'm talking about individual empowerment. Why do I speak to women about empowerment? Because you are these beautiful containers for us men to connect with our hearts, but it doesn't work if you're dependent upon men. It doesn't work if you're dependent upon men, because many men will use it as control, as Jahila just points out, and it's disempowering for women. Now, Jerry points out women are the same. Oh yeah, women can use money as a power and control issue. Absolutely. I know so many women that use their financial strength in the relationship as power and control. I can't believe this is the conversation we're having today. This is very fascinating. But by the way, is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? I'd like to hear your thoughts on this particular conversation. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. Women can also be the same. So what's the evolution? What's the solution? I've always believed in dating taking turns. If a man initiated the first date and you're going to see each other again, I think a woman should initiate the next date. I believe in taking turns. I don't believe in splitting the bill. I believe in taking turns of investing in one another to plan things. And it doesn't have to be a lot of money to plan things. It's just about mutually investing and getting to know one another. You see, the problem today is dating is a revolving door. Dating is hyper-focused on attraction, entertainment, romance, and physical connection. And it's not about really connecting at a heart-centered level to say, are we on the same page? Do you know why it's called dating? Because holy fucking shit, trying to figure out another human being was taken in the dictionary. And so why not change the narrative in dating? This is what I've been advocating for, and I've gotten so much flack. Men are supposed to pay because women need to be cherished. And I'm like, great. But what if we don't like you? Why should I have to take my resources for someone who wasn't nice to me? Some of you women can be very mean on dates. You can be very inconsiderate. Some women use men, and some men use women. There's no doubt. Sue wants to point out, yes, absolutely, taking turns. Debbie wants to advocate the same thing. I believe in that. Both should take turns. Maybe the first couple times a guy does it because that's the way we men were raised. But I got to tell you something. I remember going on a date with a woman years ago. We went to a wine bar and we had a glass of wine. We had a couple glasses of wine. Then we walked across the street to have dinner. This was in Beverly Hills, by the way. Really nice wine bar. I can't remember the name of it. And you know what? We had dinner together and I was fully ready to pay. And, I went to the bathroom for a second and she covered the bill. I was like, oh my God. In that moment, I thought this woman is like partnership material. She did it without, I was fully ready to pay and she did it out of the goodness of her heart. I've had women say to me, Jonathan, I'm treating because I think you're worth it. I think when you say that to a man, I think you're worth it. It speaks volume to your deeper character. And you don't have to do it. I'm just inviting you to consider it. Nicole says, when I was younger, I refused drinks since I never wanted to feel obligated to anyone if I didn't actually like the person. I don't know why women do this. I think it's unethical. I think what we should do is maybe have conversations before you ever physically meet for a date and maybe decide what's expected instead of creating assumptions. Maybe that's what we should be doing before we meet someone. I've always say to someone on a first date, hey, look, I don't consider the first time I meet someone a date. I always call it a meeting. Two people meeting to see if we can become friends with one another. That's the way I approach it. And as far as planning and the payment of it, I'd like to treat it this way. How do you feel about that? I've gotten flack for some women because they want to be entertained, romanced. And I'm like, look, I don't know if I like you yet. I don't know if I like you yet. You have to give me a little space to figure that out. Debbie wants to point out, what about doing stuff that doesn't cost, like talking and walks? Yeah, exactly. And it's not about the money. It's about the mutual investment. Jahila says, when I was dating, I preferred separate bills. That way I can order lobster and caviar without thinking. Did you really do that, Jahila? Did you really, really do that? I'm really curious to hear if you really did that, or are you just saying that for the benefit of this video? If I could talk to my younger self, which is the title of this longer version video, I would say, go back and don't pay for all the times, because I felt like I got used plenty of times. I would now revamp how I dated in the past. Anyway. All right, let's see if there's any more comments before we shift gears here. Debbie wants to laugh. Sue is also laughing. Thank you so much. I think maybe you're laughing at the lobster conversation. All right. Hey, I'd like to hear your thoughts on what I just shared. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, there's links below to schedule a discovery call with me, to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery, to follow me on Instagram and all that good stuff. By the way, Patricia points out, if I could speak to my younger self, I would certainly revamp my past dating too. Oh my God. I think back to how many first dates I went purely based on chemistry, based on just attraction based. And honestly, I dated women because I was so insecure that just because they gave me a little bit of attention. And by the way, you know, they gave me a little bit of attention. I'm like, I chased love for so long. I'll be candid with you. If I could go back to my younger self, I would say, by the way, I think if I could go back in time after my divorce, I'd be a lot richer right now if I didn't operate the way I did before. Debbie wants to say, thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate you. All right. I think this would be a great place to wrap up this video. Hey, again, if you found value, hit that like button. Please share this video. Listen, we just got Sue in the house. Wow.
Hey,
how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm really enjoying your podcasts and your YouTube. I really am. It is really
Well, thank you.
resonating with me. And I love your energy. It's great.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, how can I help you today?
Well, I was just watching your live stream, and I made some comments on there because besides myself, I'm watching my son and his future ex-wife go through a lot of stuff. And
Whoa. Future ex-wife. Let me be clear. Is he in the middle of a divorce right now?
yeah,
Okay. Well, it's just, I just didn't met me. I don't know if you meant you're predicting a divorce versus he's going through a divorce. Okay.
yeah. So yeah, he is definitely things have really gone crazy. And yeah, I'm trying to be supportive and trying to understand what this woman, my daughter-in-law, had, decided that after 3 years and 3 kids, she was going to do. Well, actually, she has 3 other ones. She's got 6 kids.
Okay.
And I'm thinking,
How old is your son?
41.
41. And so they've been married 3 years. So he met her when she was 38. She had 3 children. And they had 3 children together. So did she give so I'm assuming you want to have a conversation about what kind of wisdom you can impart upon your son. Is that how you want this conversation to go? Or are you looking for me to give you my perspective on it? How do we want to take this conversation?
Well, I just want to make sure that whatever path we're doing, and we're going down this path, and I'm with him because he's my son, and
Yeah, of course.
and I'm not going to abandon him, but he totally is in love with his children.
Yeah.
And he totally loved his wife, and she's come to find out a little cray cray. So
okay. By the way, we're all a little cray cray. It's just a matter of degrees.
And I'm trying to figure out everything that she had said to me and told me and felt about a relationship, why all of a sudden it was just gone. Without anything at all. It was just very bizarre. She's claiming domestic violence and sexual abuse. However, there is nothing on record. Nobody's called the police. Nobody's done anything except, it's just all, I think, blown out of proportion. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. What would I tell my son? He's the next generation. How do I tell him? I mean, he knows my experience.
Yeah.
What I've gone through. And, I took the hard road.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was the only road, right? As you put it. Yeah. So for me, it was, I just want to give him the best knowledge and understanding I can without doing any damage for his kids to be able to see them again and stuff. So I don't know.
All right. So there's a lot here to unpack. Okay. So you ready to do a little work?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, folks, this will be kind of an interesting conversation. So I want you to stick around because I think there's going to be a lot of juice in this. So, first, we have your emotional well being. Okay. So we're going to focus on you first. And I'll bring up your son in a moment, but I want to focus on you first. So, um, just so I have some clarity on your backstory, just how was your childhood? Good, bad, or mediocre?
I would probably say mediocre.
Mediocre.
Yeah.
Was there any significant trauma in your childhood that you can think of? And I
Uh,
don't mean physical abuse or verbal
uh,
abuse. Did anything gigantic happen in your life? Maybe your dad lost his job. Maybe your parents went through a divorce. Anything along those lines?
my parents went through a divorce when I was 12, going on
Okay.
13.
Okay.
And
So
yeah,
let's just put that in a box for a second.
sure.
Divorced okay. So just at age 12, do you think a 12-year-old understands divorce?
Not entirely. However, in retrospect, I think I knew and understood a lot more than I thought at the time. Does
Okay,
that make
but
sense?
I'm just saying, yes. I mean, I probably to some degree you might have had you might have been more mature than the average 12-year-old, but whether we like it or not, a 12-year-old will go through actually a significant trauma, emotional trauma, whether they think they experienced it or not. So let's
Yeah.
just put that in a box. So now let's move forward in your timeline to your son's father. Okay, how
hmm
old were you when you met him?
How, how old was I when I met who?
Your
I'm sorry.
son's father.
Oh, my son's father.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, are you divorced or are you still married?
Oh, I'm divorced twice.
Okay, so
So yeah,
so your ex-husband, how old were you when you met your ex-husband?
I was 30.
30. And then how long were you two married for?
A little bit under 5 years.
Interesting. So there's an interesting, so your son, and how old was your son when you got divorced?
He was about 3.5.
Okay, okay. Now, how do you think a 3.5-year-old processes that experience?
I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. Can you
Uh,
just guess how you think they might process that?
he missed his dad,
Yeah.
and I made sure that he saw him as often as I could. I never once said anything negative. That was one of the things that I said I would never do is
Okay.
say anything negative about his dad. Let him figure it out for himself.
Okay, but I want you to really step into your heart for a
hmm
moment. And whether if even though you did the best you could as his
hmm
mother, it still had to be emotionally challenging for him as a child. Can we agree upon that?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So now let's fast forward. Is the woman he's going through a divorce with his first wife?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm going to throw a curveball at you.
Okay.
How is she like you?
How did she like me?
No,
Oh,
how is she like you?
oh, okay. I thought we had a lot of connection. Um, um, and how we felt about family and how we connected as two women.
Yeah. But I'm looking at it from the vantage point now of your son because there probably was something familiar about her that relates to you. You were a divorced woman with children. Do you have more than one child?
No.
Okay, just one child. Okay.
hmm
Just I wonder if there's a similarity. So we'll come back to that in a moment. I want to bring it back to you. So how do you right now, I'm going to speculate, you're very protective of your son.
hmm
You want to nurture him right now. You want to be the best loving, do you?
Yeah.
Okay, you want
Yeah, I was making a face.
your
Yeah, I'm
son's in
just kidding.
pain right now, okay?
Yeah.
So what he needs from you most importantly is your strength, your sovereignty. That
Right.
woman that could take care of a child after going through a divorce,
Hmm.
not physically take care of, but emotionally take care of. That's what he
Right.
needs most from you on an emotional level. And it's important for you right now to nurture your own um, cup up while he's going through this experience. So it's really, are you in a relationship right now? Are you single, dating? What's your current circumstance?
Well, I met somebody online and we're kind of going back and forth on texting, and we've
Okay.
FaceTimed and talk on the phone, but that's as far as it's gotten so far.
And how far away does this gentleman live?
Oh, maybe 30 miles.
Okay. Okay. So it's not around the corner. All
No,
right. So have you physically met each other?
not yet.
Okay. And how long has this been going on?
Maybe a month.
Okay. Maybe a month. Okay. All right. Well, you know how I feel about not prolonging it by meeting sooner rather than later. Okay.
Yes.
So let's come back to your son and what he's experiencing. So, um, I imagine this has to be radically hard for him. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
to go through, he deeply cares for someone, and he's probably focused all on her and not nurturing his own soul right now. In other words, it's all what she is doing to him. That's probably
Hmm.
where his mindset is. She's doing this to him. Now, I suspect if we go back in her timeline, in her life, she's experienced a lot of trauma. I'm just going to speculate this.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Would
believe you're
that be a
right.
fair assessment?
Yeah.
She had a very tough childhood. She
Hmm.
probably had a first marriage or that was
Hmm.
challenging, the fact that she had three children. The fact that they went out and cranked out three children and your I wonder if that was planned or those were accidents.
My son and his and
Yeah,
their
yeah,
kids,
yeah.
I believe they were accidents.
Okay. So there wasn't a lot of grown up conversation during
Right.
their marriage. I suspect he chose her because he was probably insecurely attached to her, I suspect.
Mhm. Yeah.
And maybe it was just because he was getting, physical connection from her, but I doubt that there was significant emotional maturity in the
Hmm.
building phase of this relationship. And now he's going through a potentially emotional nightmare for him.
Hmm.
So, does that feel like a true statement? He's
Yeah.
potentially going through an emotional nightmare. So, if everything is a blessing, what's the blessing in all of if everything is a blessing? I'm not saying it is, but if we look at this as a blessing, what will he learn from this experience?
I don't think he'll ever I don't think he'll ever be emotionally attached to anybody. I think at this point, I see that. And he doesn't
So
ever want
you,
to get married again for sure. Right now, it's what
okay,
he's
so
saying.
you
Yeah.
think he is going to go the opposite and put up walls, and is that a benefit for him? Is that a benefit or a blessing, a benefit or blessing, or is that a curse?
I think it's a curse,
Yeah.
actually. I
So
think, yeah.
you agree that if he puts up walls, that would be a curse. Is that
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Are you willing to tell him that?
Probably, maybe not right now, but
Yeah.
yeah. But
So
I
why should this woman have so much power over him that he's willing to close down his heart? That's giving that woman a lot of power.
Well, because she took his three babies.
Well, now when you say she took them, are they going to court?
She took them physically away without any knowledge. She
Okay, and
just
where does she live now?
where does he live, or where
Where
does
does
she,
she live now?
with her mom?
Okay, and who is supporting these children?
Nobody. I mean, we have a home here where he
Okay,
is.
and does he live
And
with you now?
yeah, and he
Okay,
has been. Yeah, we have been. So,
okay. Does he have a job?
oh yeah, he's been the sole provider for six children and her since before they got married.
Okay. And how long ago did she take the children?
Oh, it's been a week.
Oh, it's been a week. Okay. So is she going to file for divorce?
He filed for separation, and
Okay.
now, and she countered it. And now we're heading to the lawyers on Wednesday because they
Okay.
said,
So this is
yeah.
still very much green right now.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
okay. Well, unfortunately, sadly, when two people find themselves in an adversarial space, and this is going to get very messy because she's probably going to seek some sort of financial restitution
Hmm.
from him, and the
Hmm.
courts most likely will grant something. Now, along those lines, he's still quite entitled to visitation and even joint custody. Those are,
Right.
I mean, even if she screams and yells, what state do you live in?
Oregon.
Oregon. Um, well, Oregon, I believe, is a pretty liberal state, so I don't know how they navigate divorce there compared to California.
Yeah.
I just happen to live in California. So, okay, what's the advice I want to give to you guys? First off, one, this is going to be painful, whether we like it or not. You're going to be going through emotional pain. He's going through emotional pain.
Right.
I suspect if he looked back to his younger self, he'd go, God, I should have never married her after looking
Exactly.
back, which actually gives you clues on how to do things differently in the future. That's what,
Yeah.
you go, well, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't follow my dick, and and I'm sorry to say it in that way because
No,
I
it's
followed
fine.
my dick more times than I can count, and there's a curse that comes with that too. But there's also a blessing. This is going to bring the two of you closer together. You have a chance to really be that stoic person in his life, that rock, that anchor for him right now. And
Yep.
this is a blessing for the two of you. You don't see it right now, but for the two of you. And I think for you, what's most important for you right now, Sue, is to make sure you nurture yourself, because you are going to be called upon to be the emotional support for him right now.
Yeah.
He's going to be going through a lot of pain. And hey, it was 11s, it was ones across the board a second ago on the screen, the clock, I mean.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is the most important thing for you right now, is to nurture your love cup so you can be of support to him. At the same time, he can't be dependent upon you solely. You have a life to live. You have a new man you're talking to. It might become interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I wouldn't necessarily share 100% of what's going on, but quite frankly, maybe this man is coming to your life to be a support person for you while you go through this experience as well. We don't know yet.
Right.
That's
We
why,
don't. Yeah.
that's why it's easier to look backwards to say all of life's experiences were preparing us for where we're at today. So has my advice, has it been of any value to you? Has
Yeah.
this
Oh,
conversation
yeah.
have been value?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
You're wonderful. I really enjoy you. You're yeah, because I love where all the conversation ends up going on
Yeah.
your live podcast, and I've watched some of your taped ones too. So
Oh,
yeah,
well, thank you.
yeah.
Well, it's an honor to be of service to you
Thank
today. And
you.
again, take care. This is the most important thing for you and your son.
Yes,
Take
I'm
care of
getting
that
that.
love within yourself. Okay.
I'm getting that book. I have it written down, and I'm going to go get it as soon as I can. Well, probably
Okay.
Amazon has it, right?
And Amazon has it. There's a link below where you can get a copy of the book. Hey,
Okay.
can I reach into the camera and give you a big, gigantic Jonathan Bear hug?
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
thank you. All
Thank
right, Sue.
you.
Be well.
Oh, you too.
All right. I'm sorry, I cut her off a little too quickly. Hey, folks, she just shared something very interesting for all of us. How do you support your children when they're going through an emotional chaos? And I think the most important lesson here was to make sure she nurtures her own love cup, not 100% devoted to him, because she has a life herself and she just met an interesting man that could be just as much an emotional support person for her. We don't know yet. But what's most important in this conversation is, yes, he is going to go through some deep trauma, some deep pain, and some deep lessons along the way. I think the most important thing is to remember that we are all very strong human beings. We have the capacity to take on so much, so much. And I think her and her son, it's created an opportunity for them to actually build a stronger relationship together. And that's what my hope is for both of them. And my hope is that they nurture each other's love cup along the way. Folks, is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know. I'd like to hear your thoughts on what I just shared. Post a comment below. I'd like to hear your thoughts. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell as well. If you want to connect with me, there's links below to schedule a discovery call. There's links to join my group. There's links to get all the books I recommend, all listed below. All right, I'm going to sign off this video as I always do. First off, giving myself a big, gigantic Jonathan Bear hug of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm asking you to turn to someone, a pet, a teddy bear, a pillow, and give it or them a hug of love, because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. I want to thank Sue. I also want to thank Debbie and Amanda for the super stickers earlier. I want to thank everyone that was on live. Sue says, thank you. You're very welcome, Sue. We're very grateful for you. Patricia says, thank you. Jahila says, have a great day. Lindy says, thanks. Everyone, thanks so much. Wishing you all a super duper wonderful day. Be well. Thanks. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.